Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to never miss any updates. So, hey Julia, what's up?
Hello.
What is going on?
Not much. It's late here, but I'm excited. So,
Okay, so today we are going to talk about uh, financial literacy in the United States, basically for women, and then we will go for investment related topics that how people in the United States prefer to invest, or how basically you live in California, or
yes.
yeah, so how people live in California invest their money, and how it is different from other provinces, right? So before we begin, I want you to introduce yourself, then we can go ahead.
Absolutely. So, my name is Julia Kellis. To give a little background on myself, I actually work in my parents' firm, and my parents have been doing financial services for about 22 years, so
Okay.
almost my whole life. And I grew up with a good understanding on how money works, and I thought that was basic knowledge to most people. Well, as I grew up, I found out that a lot of people don't understand how money works or never learned simple and common, financial literacy.
Right.
And so it's been my passion really to jump in and help everyone, but specifically women, teaching them about how money works. And so I've been doing this for 4 years now. And it's just been an honor to really help people financially.
Okay, so you have seen three major financial crises in your entire life, because as you just said that your parents have been working in financial sector for 20 years. So the first one, we can say the IT bubble burst. The second
Mhm.
is 2008 financial crisis.
Yep.
And the third, we can consider the COVID-19 stock
Yep.
market crash. So you must have learned from those incidences as well. Your age must be small, but it is the family, the parents must be discussing all such things when you are very young.
Yes, absolutely. And so actually, my dad's first day was 9/11. Now, he didn't know that it was 9/11, but it was Monday, and he just was starting full time in his own business and super excited, and then turned on the news and it was 9/11. So I absolutely grew up with a well-rounded understanding that, not life isn't always going to be super stable. Things are going to happen, and there's always going to be crises, and we work in a market cycle, right? If you know
Right.
anything about investing works in a market cycle. And to understand that, yes, there's going to be a lot of highs where people are going to be excited about investing and saving money, but there's also going to be some low lows. And that's where people really need to learn how to invest and what to do when the market's down. So
Right.
absolutely, it's, he's a lot older than me, but that knowledge has been passed down. So a lot of people, when they talk to me, they're like, wow, how do you know these things about, the dot-com bubble bursting? Or,
Right.
like, well, because I was taught. And I think that we learn from the highs in the market and we learn from the lows. So yeah, absolutely.
Ultimately, in investing, the more time you give to your investment, the more wealth you create. It's that simple, but
Absolutely.
most people don't get it.
It's time in the market, not
Yeah,
timing the market.
exactly.
Absolutely.
So let's begin with our first topic, which is financial literacy in women, specifically in the United States. So what do you think that is it like uh, women prefer to invest their money, or like most of the time it is money is managed by a spouse, like a husband or a boyfriend or something, like a parent? So what do you think about it?
Well, first of all, finance in general in the US, now I only know the US numbers, so I'll just talk in US terms, is a very male dominated industry. To put it in perspective, as far as securities licensed or investment licensed representatives, there's about 600,000 in the US. Okay, only 4,000 of those are women. So
Okay.
when it comes to women investing, There's actually a lot of women who have a desire to invest or want to learn about it, but they feel uncomfortable speaking to the opposite gender about their
Okay.
financial situations or their spending habits or whatever. When talking girl to girl, it's a little easier, you know what I mean?
Right.
So the desire's there, it's just that trust isn't there. So then women don't understand and they don't know. But if you look at a household, actually majority of the time women are the ones who run the finances in the household. I know you
Exactly.
think it'd be the men, but it's actually the women. And so it's just caused tremendous growth as far as women in the industry, because being able to talk to other women and educate them has been tremendous. So I think the desire's there, but the knowledge is missing.
Okay. So employment is there, right? Major like employment rate in women is specifically very higher compared to rest of the world. But
Yeah.
still, as you are saying that financial literacy is a big concern.
Yeah.
And what do you think that what about spending? Like who spends more money, male or female? Like it's a tough
Uh,
competition.
yeah, I think that, well, okay, if you were looking at it as like a couple, right? And I don't care what kind of couple you're in, but there's always a spender and there's always a saver,
Right.
right? Now, in our household, my dad's the spender big time and my mom's the saver. So I think that it depends on how you end up with. Now, if two spenders end up together, you know what's going to happen then, right? Or when
That
two
trap.
savers, yeah, exactly. Two savers end up together, they end up staying at home all the time because they don't spend their money. So I think it requires balances. Now, if you were to look in the US, women spend more just on organic things we actually need, cost more. So there's
Okay.
a disconnect there. You know what I mean? Plus, women products, I mean, oh my gosh, the amount compared to men's products, right?
Are they
Uh,
expensive or it's just like women need more products in
both.
quantity?
Yeah, both. I mean,
Okay.
shoot, think about your hair. I mean, guys buy a thing of shampoo and it's like 3 in 1, and that's all they need.
Yeah.
$2.99, right? And women have to buy multiple products just for. I have curly hair, so I buy 3 different products just for my hair in the shower. So, and
Right.
those are all way more expensive. So, I think if you were to look at the spending, women dominate just because things cost more and we need more products. But in general, it depends on the personality type, who spends more, who feels more, who understands money and who respects money more to save it, and who likes fun things and to spend it more, you know?
And as you mentioned that majority of the time when it comes to investment related decisions, it is taken by men. But what about saving? As you just said that in your family, your mother prefer to save more money. And
Yeah.
what about the other general trend in the United States?
Uh, I mean, I guess it really just depends. Now, I think women save more, but I think they invest less. And
Yeah.
that's where the knowledge comes in. There's more money in banks and CDs right now than like ever before. Well, if you know anything
Okay.
about banks, you're not making any money in a bank account. They give you like 0.001%, which that's a great
Is it
investment,
like
right?
are you talking about certificate or deposit or just savings account?
Either, yeah, either.
Okay.
CDs give you 1%, so it's still not a great investment, you know. Inflation right now is going at 5%, so anything less than that, I mean, you're losing value on your money. So I
Right.
think that women like to save and they like security and they like those things, but they're not growing that money. And so that's where that knowledge, that financial literacy is missing. There's a lot of money in the bank. And right now there's a generational wealth wall. We've been talking about this forever. That's getting
Right.
passed down generationally right now. And a lot of women are inheriting money and they're putting it in a bank or in a CD. And
Right.
they just don't know that they can get that money working for them and grow the value of that money. And yeah, so but women do like to save and they do like that security for sure, having
Hmm.
money available, if that makes sense.
Okay, so we can say that there is a huge bunch of cash available, uh, from women have huge bunch of cash, but on the other hand men don't have that much cash because they spend or they invest their money.
Yeah, I would say majority of the time, and now I can only speak from personal experience.
Yes, yes.
Men also are naturally a little more risk takers.
Yeah,
And
totally
women
agree.
are naturally a little safer side. So, guys can throw money in the stock market and they know it's going to go up and down and it's whatever. Well, women are a little more emotional. So when we're, and I can speak from my experience too, because I watch my investments go up and down. I'm like, oh my gosh, even though it's working and it still makes me a little nervous. So yeah, I think when it comes to men, they're more eager or they're seeking more advice on how to invest that money. And women want to, but they want that security too. And they don't understand, again, it's where that education's missing, right? They don't understand they can get both of those things. They can invest and have that security.
So if I talk about India, there are many women, as you just said, that it's like the same scenario. It's a male dominated industry. But I have observed in my life that there are many women who do not prefer to learn about personal finance and financial education and investing and all such things. They think that it will be managed by the boyfriend, a parent, yeah, or I should say, husband. And what kind of scenario is there in the United States? Are women eager to learn, or I'm saying about a small portion in India? It's not like a major portion, but is there this kind of scenario there?
So I think it's just now starting. Now, like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years. When I first got started, it was definitely not as many women seeking education. I
Right.
also think that it wasn't as available. So,
Okay.
my grandpa ran the finances. So he taught my dad. So my dad ran you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The grandmas didn't necessarily run the financial situation. Well, nowadays, especially in the US, there's more single moms than ever before. There's more
Hmm.
working women than ever before. And so now we're realizing, man, we're in charge of our money. We better learn how to manage it. And I
Right.
think the accessibility through social media and different aspects has encouraged women to look at their financial situation. And
Right.
there's not as many female financial advisors out there. So when women come across one, they tend to latch on and get really excited because they realize, wow, I can actually do this. I can actually learn about money coming from another woman. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's just now starting where that excitement's coming in and that want for an education's coming in because it wasn't there before, for sure.
But the surprising thing for me was that I found more financial advisor, financial planner, or a person like you who teaches about finance and investment. I found that there are more female professionals than male. So it was like strange thing for me. But as you are just saying that this trend is just started. So
Yeah, absolutely.
more and more women will prefer to invest, more and more women will start sharing knowledge that she has acquired.
Yeah, absolutely. And you probably met more women on the younger side too who are getting interested
Exactly.
in money. It's not necessarily the older generation. They're still kind of letting the man take it over, right? But absolutely the younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs, what we call them, I mean, they're looking at their money and now understanding if I don't take control of this, I don't know if any man's going to come along to help me with it. And so absolutely they need to take control of that. So they're getting excited about it and more career paths than ever before opening up for women in finance. So that's where you're seeing more and more women step into the financial role as well. So
Right. So the career opportunities have also started, like women have also started exploring finance as a career opportunity.
absolutely.
Okay, oh, cool. So where do American women invest their money? I mean, you teach about investing, right? To
Mhm.
specifically to women. So firstly, where how you teach, like in which instrument, in which investment instrument you suggest that you should invest your money here? Like we can say IRA, 401k, then we can say index funds, and gold. What do you suggest? Or we can say just active mutual funds.
Okay, so that's an awesome question, and I'm going to give you a very vague answer because I have thousands of investments at my disposal.
Okay.
So the thing I would recommend to a woman seeking out investment advice is I would tell her to ask a couple questions. First of all, and this is very controversial, I would ask the investment advisor what kind of compensation they're getting. How do they make their money?
Okay.
Because if I'm sitting down with a financial advisor and they just do managed accounts, for example, and they get a big bonus for doing a managed account, of course they're going to push a managed account, right? Even though it might not be the best fit for me as the client, he's going to make more money, so he might push that. And you want to find an advisor that kind of gets paid the same. I know it won't be exactly the same, but you want to find someone who's seeking to accomplish your goals, not make the
Yeah.
most money. So that's number one. The other thing is I would figure out how they manage risk. That is huge, right? I'm not going to take someone like me who doesn't manage risk very well, to be honest with you, and say, let's throw you in the stock market. Let's put you in some cryptocurrency. I'm sure that'll turn out great. Because like, oh my gosh, I would look at that every day. I would have a heart attack every day. So maybe putting in something more safe, like a mutual fund or an IRA or something along those lines, right? Now,
Right.
if they manage risk well, awesome. Let's, go all out, right? So those couple things. The last thing is you need multiple investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
Right.
So we believe in having 3 fundamental accounts. You need an emergency account, a short-term account, and a retirement account, right? And you shouldn't be pulling money from those things that don't belong there. So we see here in America, people will just invest in a 401k plan, for example, at their jobs, and then they pull it all out to put a down payment on a house.
Okay.
Okay, you
And they
just
are
got
stopping
penalized.
the effect of compounding.
Absolutely. And they're getting penalized and they got to pay it back plus interest. And there's all these issues with doing that. But they weren't saving short term for a house. So that's all the money they had. And now they're behind on retirement, like you just mentioned, right?
Yeah.
Or if an emergency comes up and you have no money, you'll either get a credit card and go into debt or pull for your retirement. And then the same issues happen. So you got to have those 3 accounts in place. So all 3 of them will be on track. And they can be in different funds as well, depending on the risk and things as far as the client goes.
Okay. So
So I
you
hope that
mentioned,
answered your question. Okay.
no, it was perfect. But you mentioned about emergency fund, right? So uh, before, as the COVID-19 started soaring, specifically in the United States, late March, or I should say April 2020, uh, tons of article by CNBC, I observed that people were in debt. They have no money to pay for like their basic needs. Like they lose their job and they have no money for daily surviving.
Yeah.
And the surprising thing was that they are good earners. Like they had a good income, but they lost their job because of the COVID-19 and all such things, and they have no money
Yeah.
now. So I should say people have no idea about emergency funds. They have no, like, there are no kind of, there is no awareness that we need to have emergency fund to survive at least 3 to 4 months, even if we don't have job and any kind of
Absolutely.
employment.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. To put statistics to it, in 2019, 60% of people had less than $1,000. Well, $1,000 doesn't get you anywhere, right? And then 8 out of 10 workers were living paycheck to paycheck. Okay. Well, if you make 100 grand a year, but you spend 100 grand a year, you're paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yeah.
And in COVID time, 2020, over 60% of people lost their jobs. So here are people who are paycheck to paycheck. They have no money for an emergency or hardly any, and now they lost their income, right? So absolutely, the devastation was huge. And I think it also brought a lot of awareness to
Hmm.
financial literacy and having something and having a plan. And because they didn't have one before and they saw the effects of it. I mean, it was
Right.
huge. I even volunteered at grocery outlets where we gave away groceries because people couldn't buy groceries, you know? So I think that that was a huge downfall. Now it also woken a lot of people to their financial situation. So I always got to look at the bright side, right? And more people than ever before are now investing and saving money and having an
Yes.
emergency fund just in case something happens. And they're building multiple streams of income. So if something happens to one, they still have money to fall back on. So
And because of these because of the massive COVID-19 crisis, a lot of people have started like making try to make more money than other streams of income. Like they try to make more money from online jobs. They become freelancer. They like
mhm,
Instagram influencer and all such things. People have realized that it's one income is not sufficient. And
right.
if I talk about the downside, that because of this incident, like specifically people in the United States started blaming the government, like they are not they are not giving like a stimulus package enough. But
Yeah,
people need to understand that it's your responsibility to manage your money properly. It's not government's job to give you money every time when there is a
absolutely.
crisis in there is a financial crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. It is your responsibility, 100%. And that's the way my parents raised me. Is they said, you know, if the government gives you money, awesome. If they don't, you should still be fine. You should still retire successfully. If a crisis happens, you should still be okay because you took responsibility. And if they give you anything extra, awesome. It's an additional bonus, right? To add on to that multiple streams of income that you're mentioning, investment income is another stream of income. And we've seen more people investing now than ever before. And that
Yes.
is another stream of income that's coming in, right? From interest and dividends and things. So that's another way that people are building another source of income. Now, that's not going to replace, obviously, their job income for a while,
Yeah.
but it is something that's been more brought to the average person's attention.
Small income but still matters, right?
Absolutely.
So you mentioned about the like retirement planning. So the question that I want to ask you is that when I talk about retirement planning to uh 23, 25, 27 years old, they generally act like, oh, it's more than 30, 35 years and 40 years I have. Why should I care about retirement? So do you face such kind of thing, or people are aware that they should plan for retirement, or it's like same people?
So yeah, we get those all the time. I teach them a concept before I teach them about retiring, and it's the rule of 72. I don't know if you've heard of the rule of
Sorry?
72 before. The rule of 72. Does
Rule of
that sound
72,
familiar
yes,
at
I
all?
am aware about that.
Okay. When they actually see the power of compound interest, they get really excited about investing young because they realize you need a small amount of money and it's going to compound to something big.
Hmm.
Well, if I get someone who's a little more hesitant or they go, I'm young, I'm going to retire in 40 years or whatever, that's way off in the distance. I can also pull up client examples because I've met with people who are 60 and have nothing saved for retirement. And I could say,
Right.
okay, so in 20, you're saving $200 a month, which let's be real, I can blow $200 in a weekend. So it's
Hmm.
not a lot of money. In your 60s, you got to save like $2,000 a month.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I just asked them, you know, in your 60s, will you be in a position to save $2,000 a month? And if they say no, you got to save $200 now then, right? And watch that money. It'll end up being more money too, because it'll compound for a longer period of time and you won't have to play catch up. So I think it's just education. When they understand the
Right.
power of investing and the compound of it, they're more excited about investing, even if it's just a small amount to get started.
I believe inflation is also a big factor that we should consider while like
Absolutely.
educating this thing. Because if if you will say that at the age of 60 you will have 1 million, but you don't talk that like the value of 1 million will be this, for example, after like 2050, for example. So we can say that if you invest in like for example S&P 500 index fund, if you manage to get like 8 to 9% annual return for consistently 30-35 years, and you are easily beating inflation by 5 to 6%, and which is massive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, what we do, and I can't speak for every investment firm, I can only speak for what we do. We add inflation to our numbers. So we actually showed the client, okay, if you need $5,000 a month now, when you retire in 20 years, this is how much money you're actually gonna need in retirement. I also
Right.
think that people understand, okay, I need to start saving sooner as well, because they understand they're gonna need a lot more money in retirement. Now, when I was younger, I always thought being a millionaire was a lot of money. I thought having $1 million was a lot of money. Well, when I actually calculated how much money I'd need in retirement, because I'm really young and inflation's going to be ridiculous,
Right.
I needed like $10 million. And I was, oh my gosh, because it's such a long period of time, inflation's going to go up at such a high rate. So here in my head, I'm thinking if I had $1 million, I would be fine, but I'd actually be $9 million short. And
It's
that's the
not enough.
mentality people have nowadays. Absolutely. And the biggest challenge, I think, is that when it comes to investing for retirement, people don't know the end number they need. So nothing
Exactly.
matters because they think when I'm 65, I'm going to retire. And that's not how it works. You're 65 and you have $20 in your bank account, you're not going to retire. I hate to break it to you that way, right? So calculating that number, figuring out what you need in retirement, adding inflation to it so you get the right amount, right? Now you have a clear goal, and now you know what you need to invest to accomplish that goal.
All right. So another thing regarding retirement, that
Mhm.
what is the pension? What is like? Uh, how does pension system work in United States? Like how much money the government offer you as soon as you retire?
So that's a very interesting question, by the way. When my grandpa passed away and he's 98.
Oh.
So yeah, longevity in my family. But when he worked, he only worked 2 jobs his whole life, right? And that's how the system used to work. You'd go to college, you'd get a good job, and you stayed at that job. There was company loyalty. And we had a retirement plan back in his day, which was kind of like a 3-legged stool, we used to call it, where you'd have a pension plan, you'd have your own savings, and then you'd have Social Security. And
Okay.
he retired fine till 98. He had money, he was fine. Well, in my dad's generation, Social Security dropped by more than half. So that stool's kind of off a little bit. And now there's not as much company loyalty. So pensions were pretty much all but gone except for government jobs. So my
Oh.
dad didn't even get offered a pension. Okay, now you get to my generation. Social Security's out. I mean, I'll be lucky if I get any Social Security. I'm not counting that at all. And pensions, now that are offered to government positions or people with government jobs, are getting less and less common, and the benefits to them are getting smaller. So now in my generation, I went from a 3-legged stool to almost a 1-legged stool. I just got to worry about myself and save my own money for my future. So as far as pensions go and how they work, it depends on where you go or who you work for. Couple notes about them. One, when you pass away, your spouse is not going to get hardly any of that money. They usually get half or a quarter of it. And then when your spouse passes away, your kids get none of that money. So
Oh.
it's not generationally passed down, which a lot of people want that. They want, if something happens to them, their money to go to their kids or their grandkids, right? So that's something to note about them. The other thing is the company controls that whole pension. So they decide what you're invested in. And unless you trust them enough to have full control of that, awesome. But if you don't, you need to invest as well. And if you have a pension, awesome. But I don't know how long they're going to stay around for, if that makes sense. So I just tell people nowadays not to count on them. If you get it, awesome. If not, you should still retire successfully.
But if we talk about taxes, Americans pay heavy taxes to government. So according to me, all the Americans need to have proper pension plan, because the American government received trillions in taxes from all the Americans. So why it is like, as you just said, the amount of social security the government offer is decreasing day by day, and in our generation, as you just said, that there is no a fund for social security. You have to manage all such things. So it's like all the governments, like if we start with Obama administration, then Trump administration, all the leaders have started believing that we are not going to do this. Is it like that, or it's like other thing?
Well, okay, I can't say what they were intending because I don't know what they were thinking.
Okay.
One of the biggest challenges is that our country is spending more money than we're getting. So we're trillions of dollars in debt. That doesn't help, right? The other thing is the government's trying to shoulder off, and we saw this more in Trump's administration, shoulder off more of the government's responsibility to the independent employers. Okay. So it's not necessarily the government who wants to take them away, but when you shoulder that on the employer wants to make money. They want their company to profit. And if cutting back on helping their employees will do that, they will do that, which is really unfortunate, but they do that. So that company and employee loyalty is missing now. So I don't know if it was intended, but it was just getting passed down to the wrong people, and now it's sort of going away, right? As far as Social Security goes, I mean, we just kind of ran out of money. People were living too long and they didn't really think of that all through. I might end up with some, I might end up with nothing. My parents told me, don't count on it. Just think you're not going to get it. And if you get something cool, if not, you're still going to retire. So I just haven't really thought about that as much.
So we can say that because of the highly capitalist approach, you are facing this kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of people you mentioned are switching to working as consultants or online or virtually or as their own bosses, because employee benefits are just dropping left and right. In fact, we see, awful things where, they bring a bunch of employees in a room and they say, you get no benefits or you can quit. Either way, we'll just hire more people. It's awful. So people are realizing if they're kind of taking responsibility in their finances and responsibility in their careers, and realizing if I don't do something else, or if I don't do something in addition, then I'm not going to be able, that company and employee loyalty is broken for sure. Now we also have an amazing economy for business owners and for independent contractors. So it's not a total loss, right? People are now discovering that. But as far as retirement goes, there's a huge loss there.
It is being said that US is a country of opportunity for businesses.
Yeah, absolutely. And women in business too. By the way, over half of, I think it was, I want to say it's 54%, I might be off, but of all the businesses in the US are run by women now. And
that's great.
So that's a huge deal, right? And the biggest problem is there's still an inequality, again, going back to the companies, when, by the way, I don't know if all companies work like this. I'm just being generic here. But when it comes to women getting compensated versus men, women are getting paid less still. Yeah. And women are getting promoted less. They're shouldering more of the work, but men move up the chain faster. A nice way to put that. So women are deciding, well, if I run my own thing, I can control my own compensation. I can control my own hours. I can be home with my kids. And we're being tremendously successful at that. So a lot of women are leaving the workforce and joining their own workforce.
But when it comes to job, like I have heard that things have started changing. Like, as you just said, that the ratio between male and female is a huge difference. But government is pushing private companies that you need to maintain this ratio, and because of that I have heard that uh, even if like women do not have that particular knowledge for that industry, it is companies responsibility to teach, like to give workshop and also things to educate women and give employment to women in that company. This kind of situation I have heard that it is happening in many companies in the United States.
Yeah, it's trying to create a diverse culture, and which is great. I'm all for that. It actually roots back all the way to the way women are raised, and I've done a lot of research on this. I read a phenomenal book about the way women are raised, as far as taking risks. Now the problem is, uh, women won't apply for a job unless they're 100% sure they can do all the responsibilities, they're fully qualified. They won't even apply. A
Okay.
man will apply for a job if he's pretty sure about 40% he can kind of do the job, he's sure he can figure it out, that kind of deal. Because men are pushed more as little boys and girls are pulled back as little girls to don't take risks, be safer, sit down, be quiet, that kind of deal. So it's harder for employers to hire on women because they won't even reach out unless they know they could do it to the best ability or they're 100% qualified, which you can't really know you're 100% qualified until you actually do a job.
Right.
So there's that disconnect there as well.
Another thing regarding job security is that it is being said in India that even if you are so much qualified, there is no guarantee that you can lose your job the next day in the United States. So it's like my question is that because uh, okay, your face was not clear. So because the US has so much immigrants, like so many international students, uh, so it's like every like Indians, and specifically Indians and Chinese, prefer to come over there, study and prefer to work there. Because of this, it's like employers know that they will easily find new employees who
Right.
are capable compared to any person who is asking more salary, or who is asking more benefits. So do you
Right.
believe that these can be the reason that job security is less?
Yes and no. So actually, in the US, there's probably more immigrant entrepreneurs than any other group. They come here to live the dream. So they're actually more out of the workforce than in the workforce. But
Okay.
I do think that that disconnect is there, where the employer's mentality is, instead of investing in their people and really
Mhm.
growing their people and developing their people, they're hiring and firing because they know
Yeah.
they can get somebody else quickly. You know what I mean? And I know this because my dad used to be in that position. He was a vice president. He was in charge of hiring and firing people, and he hated that because they either did their job or they didn't, and he would just find new people. And he
Okay.
doesn't believe in that. He believes you should really develop people and grow people as their skill sets develop, grow their skill sets, and that's what's
Mhm.
missing in companies. So I don't know if it's necessarily the immigrants that are coming in that are taking jobs, or it's the employers who are just blowing through people and not really putting time into people that is losing that job security.
All right. So now, if we talk about investment, do women prefer to invest in index funds, like uh, in each and every in the YouTube video, like you say you will see that every YouTuber, every finance person is talking about investing in index funds like S&P 500. Like you are investing in top 500 companies of the United States, and if you stay invested for the longer period of time, it is guaranteed that you will manage to create wealth. So do women prefer to invest in index funds, or as you just said that we need to educate a lot because there is very less risk taking ability?
Yes, I think it's the education piece that's missing. And absolutely, any investor knows that if you put your money in the S&P, for example, that's been averaging 10% since like 1937.
Okay.
So obviously you're going to make money, but the average woman doesn't know that. So
Okay.
here they're thinking, I don't want to lose my money, because you hear of tragedies like, oh, going back to the tragedies, right? 2008 or 2020, and they don't want to lose all their money, but they don't understand the market as an average. So I think that education piece is really missing, which is why I love YouTube and I love having those sources. I always tell people though to double check, make sure who
Right.
you're listening to is credible. They know what they're talking about. They're licensed to give you advice, those kinds of things. But getting your own education and learning about it is the piece that's missing, I think, for sure.
Right. And what about quick money making approach? We can say crypto.
Crypto is an interesting conversation. I can talk about crypto forever. The biggest thing about crypto, and this is what I tell all of my clients who ask about it, is if you have additional money that
Right.
you're willing to lose, knock yourself out. And I invest in crypto too, so I could say this. We don't really know enough about it to say it's a good investment or say it's a bad investment yet, because we just
Right.
don't know what's going to happen
We
with
don't
it,
know.
right?
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yeah, some people are making a bunch of money, some people lost a bunch of money. We just don't know yet. So I tell people, as long as you're investing in those 3 accounts we're talking about, as long as your bills are being paid, you got your debts paid off, those kinds of things, and you have an extra couple of $100, absolutely go for it. You might triple your money, but you might lose it all. And the problem I have, if you look at my page at all, you can see me talking about it, is crypto investors believe that people should put all their money in crypto, and that's where people are messing up. They're putting full paychecks into cryptocurrency, and they're losing full paychecks, and now they're paycheck behind.
Right.
And that's a huge issue, especially if you're paycheck to paycheck. So I tell people, if you want to invest in it, awesome, but only if you have additional income to kind of, I don't want to say throw away, but because you might make money, but
Right.
kind of gamble with it. You know what I mean?
And
So
another thing that I would like to add over here is that the people who have not yet started investing in like financial market, we can say index funds, mutual funds, stocks, IRA, 401k, nothing, zero investment experience. They believe that crypto is the next big thing, and they just focus on crypto only. They don't believe in any other kind of assets, and they just invest in crypto, nothing else. That is, I should say, one of the biggest concern, because youngsters like below 25, the people who are below 25 who know about technology, they will definitely say that crypto is the next big thing. If you don't understand how blockchain and how cryptocurrency works, they will tell you that you know nothing about technology. They will act like you have no knowledge, and crypto is the next big thing. And because of this trend, they would only consider investing in crypto, and that's what I believe.
Yeah, I think well, it goes back to learning about history, right? You learn anything about history, you learn from our past. So I think having an investment that has a past is super important, because you know what's going to happen. And we just don't know enough about crypto. And I do believe that it's getting pushed so hard that it makes me wonder if all these people are pushing it so hard, or maybe making something off of it, or they're trying to pump it up so they could sell theirs or something, because it is getting pushed hard. And especially on young people, they're saying this is going to be the next best thing. And it's like, well, that's great. And it might be, but you also need a little bit of a security blanket in case it's not. You got to see what's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I do believe that's a big problem for sure. Lack of education is the problem.
And in India, you won't believe that even like fashion influencer, like you will say tech influencer, like tech YouTuber, each and every one is promoting crypto exchanges on their videos. Like you will see everywhere. Even they are telling that you want to save your money, use crypto. And there is no relation. By we can say that saving and investing in crypto, it's a two different thing, vast, totally different thing, but they are misleading audience by saying all such things.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, if you were to invest in crypto as an emergency fund, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, definitely. You
So,
will. It's
yeah.
like anytime it can crash.
Yeah. And I also believe it goes back to what I said before. Be careful you're listening to advice, right?
Right.
I tell my clients or people going through social media or trying to educate themselves, if you're talking to somebody about investing, ask them which licenses they have. Because out here in the US, we need certain licenses to do certain
Yes.
investments. And I'm like, if these people are pushing crypto, but they're not licensed to do any other investments, makes you wonder, right? Or I've met people who are just, for example, insurance licensed. So they're going to push annuities because that's all they can do, right? So of course they're going to talk about all the benefits of their investment as far as annuity goes, but they're not invested or they're not licensed to talk about anything else. So I just warn people, when you're taking advice, ask them how they got this information, where they learned it from. They're licensed to talk about it, right? And so yeah, take professional advice from someone who's licensed. So
And when it comes to crypto, there is no regulation, there is no government. So you won't see
nothing.
any certified, like any certified crypto consultant and all such things, because you will see any random person talking to you regarding that you should invest in this crypto. It will go like Ethereum will go to 5,000, 6,000. You will never know the experience. You will never know how intelligent or how much knowledge that person has, right?
Right. Yeah.
So this is the major thing. So if we, yeah, we have already talked about it, but uh, what are your thoughts on index investing?
Um, I mean, I think it's phenomenal. Uh, I think that it also depends on the person.
Okay.
So, like I mentioned before, uh, it depends on how the person takes a risk, and it depends on what the goal is of that investment, for sure.
Right.
For investing long term wise, or it's phenomenal. But if maybe an emergency fund, if it's too volatile, it might not be a great fit, because if it's in an emergency account, you want it to be a little more secure, like in a bond or a money market or something
Right.
that's going to grow a little bit but be a little safer. That makes sense. So I don't
Hmm.
necessarily have a strong opinion about it, um, but from what I've seen, it's, I mean, it's great. So it depends on what your goal is, though.
Yeah, got it. So I want to ask you is that when did you start investing? What was the first, like, we can say, what was the year that you started your investment journey?
And me personally,
Yes.
when I turned 18.
Okay.
So when I turned 18 is actually when I got into the industry. And that's when I learned about investing.
All right. All right.
So very young.
Very,
uh,
and what's your age right now?
22.
22. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And what about tech stocks? I want to ask you is that technology stocks in the United States have been soaring, like they are giving phenomenal returns. You will see that uh, in the last 10 years, there are at least 10 companies who have offered more than 10 times return. Like we have Microsoft, Facebook, Apple, Google, Amazon. These are the companies, Netflix, Zoom. These companies have offered 10 times return in the last 10 years. So it's like people are more focusing on technology specific stocks for massive growth, even if they're not making enough profit. Like there are many small tech companies who are in losses, but still their share price keep going.
Uh, yeah. So it comes down to the sorry, my device is dying. I gotta plug it in really quick. It comes down to where we are in the market cycle. And this is the way I explain it to my clients. When we're going up, and right now we're in a very bull market, so everyone thinks they're a financial expert right now, because you could pretty much pick any stock and it's going to go up, right? because
Yeah.
it's just very much growing right now. And so in those kinds of economies, absolutely investing in tech, things that are growing, and new development, Tesla, those kinds of companies, awesome.
Right.
When the market's going down, though, is where it's going to be interesting, because everyone who thinks they're an investment expert today, when we're in a bear market, they're not going to be as experienced, for example, because now they're realizing they got to be a little more careful with their investments. Okay, that's when we tell our clients to invest in more value companies.
Right.
We say, you're never going to stock up on toothpaste, for example, but you're never going to stop buying it either. It's just always going to be there.
Like Coca-Cola is also there, one of the finest stocks, like which offers dividends yearly.
Yes, absolutely. So knowing that, now we can never time the market, otherwise we'd all be gazillionaires. But having that understanding, and also understanding that when the market's down, you want to buy more, right? Because everything's, the way I put it is, everything's on sale, right? Stocks are on sale. So if you can invest more, awesome. And then when it goes up is when you want to sell it, because now all of those stocks you just bought went up in value, and now we can sell those. What happens in the US is the opposite. Right now, it's a bull market, so everyone's excited about technology. They're throwing all this money in, which is awesome, but they're buying it at the high price. Exactly. When the market crashes, and it will soon, we don't know when, but it will, then everyone's going to get scared because all that money they invested dropped, and they're going to pull out their money and guaranteeing their losses. So as far as tech company goes, right now is a phenomenal time to invest in them. But you have to keep the mindset that if the market goes down, am I willing to hold on to this stock till it goes back up? And if not, maybe selling it while it's high and then getting a more value-based investment while the market goes down.
And if the investment holding period is more than like 10 years, 15 years, then there is no need to worry. Every time is good time to enter.
Absolutely.
So in the long run, everything you will get decent amount of return, even if you have invested at the all-time high.
Right. Yep.
So here we are finishing the podcast, and thank you so much for accepting my invitation. And finally, is there anything that you want to ask me?
Well, what got you interested in investing? What started your journey?
Well, basically, I'm also 22, and I started at the age of 18, just like you. And I started, that's great. And I should say we both invested when the market was not that much high. And right now we are getting good amount of return because we have already 4 years of investment journey, whether it is the US market or India, both are performing really well. And when I started, India's stock market was at stagnant. It was not growing. It was not going down, like very stable. So it was a time, the market was testing my patience, that am I a good long-term investor? Am I a good enough that I can create wealth in the long run or something like that? So my investment opinion is that stay invested as long as you can. Like if you can stay invested for 10 years, give more 2 years. If you manage to get 12 years, give more 3 years. That the more time you give to your investment, the more wealth you create. And I only invest that amount that I can forget for 20, 30 years, because my purpose towards investment is massive wealth. It's not like small amount and something like that. My goal is big, and that is why I stay invested for the long period. I would prefer to stay invested for the long period.
Awesome.
And that's what I believe, and that's what I suggest in each and every content that I produce, that you should stay invested for the long run. And it's like Indian economy, it's just 2.6 trillion, and it's a country of 1.3 billion people. So market is really big. opportunities are great. Businesses will make tons of money, so everyone should take benefit by investing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I teach, and that's what I offer as a consultation.
That's awesome. That's phenomenal.
Yes. So thank you so much.